Hi folks, welcome to the Prepared Homestead. This is Travis. Thank you all for stopping by to watch. Well, it's another really windy day around here. We've been having a lot of this here lately, much more than normal. I've talked to several old timers that's lived here their whole lives that say they've never seen this kind of wind this much. So hopefully eventually things will calm down, but not today, and probably not for the next few days, it looks like. Anyways, so Vladimir Putin stated that Donald Trump is very serious about Greenland. He's very serious about taking Greenland, that the Trump administration is not trolling, and that they do intend to take control of Greenland, which is interesting because from what we're hearing, Greenland doesn't want that. The people of Greenland seem to be very happy being part of Denmark, and they say no, and Denmark says no. The vice president and his wife and a few others are traveling to Greenland this week, and we'll see. The president stated that, at least insinuated, that if we couldn't take Greenland peaceably, that there might be some level of force used to take Greenland, which is something the United States hasn't done in a long time, at least openly. So we'll see how that works. Also, in Ukraine, the United States is stating now, the Trump administration, that there's plans being made to take control of all of the mineral rights in Ukraine, which is a big thing that everyone is talking about because they're very rich in rare earth minerals. The United States and the Trump administration has already stated that they plan on taking control of the nuclear power plant in Ukraine. Now, this is interesting because Russia, who it appears on the surface that we're building an allegiance with, some type of relationship, is stating that, number one, that nuclear power plant's theirs. No one's going to touch it. They built it, they own it, and it's theirs. And that they will continue to keep the mineral rights in the areas that they have conquered. So will we see the relationships between Russia and the United States start to diminish again? Is this a true, real relationship that's being built between the presidents of, Russia and the United States? Or will, basically money be the thing that divides us, and then we end up seeing ourselves back on the Ukraine side, trying to, push Ukraine to finish off Russia? I don't know. It's interesting how this is all working out, because in the end, as many of you realize, it's all just a big charade. It's just a big play. That's all it is. And so it's, at the very least, we can consider it entertaining, right? Here lately, I have been pushing a topic quite a bit because I think it's very important, even though not a lot of other people are talking about it. And I'm talking about this push for advanced technologies, artificial intelligence, robotics, androids, digital currencies, digital identification, transhumanism, mRNA technology, all this gene-altering therapies, making human beings stronger, better, and all this kind of stuff. And I think that this has been going on for a while. I personally think, as much as maybe some of you disagree, that the whole transgender agenda has been part of the transhumanism to get this conversation and concept in people's minds that gender doesn't exist, that you can change it whatever you want, you can be anything different, and then transhumanism will come in and say, and you can be upgraded, you don't have to have babies the natural way anymore because the White House is pushing IVF, all this kind of stuff. It's very much a transhumanistic agenda. And this administration, even if some of you still really are loyal to them, you have to admit that since day one, this kind of stuff has really been pushed. Obviously, with Elon Musk being in such a prominent position, but there's several other people in this administration that's really pushing a lot of this stuff. And it should have you concerned, because while it could be used for great good, it can also be used to bring about great evil. And many scientists and experts over the years have been warning about this kind of stuff, and artificial general intelligence and androids and all this kind of stuff. And I mean, my goodness, there's been movies made about it. So it must be true, right? Or maybe it was just Hollywood kind of getting everyone prepared for the future. Well, that's not getting any less. It's still happening. There's still this push. Today in the Washington or the New York Post, I think it was, I'll put the picture up here, of an article with Bill Gates. And Bill Gates states that within the next decade, which isn't that far away, within the next 10 years, so by 2030, 2035, that basically your healthcare will be done by AI. And he's not the first one that said this. This has been talked about recently for the last couple of years, that there's this strong move to where your health will be dictated by computers because they're non-biased and just, all of that, they know more, all this kind of stuff. In fact, as soon as Trump took office, if you remember, and I've mentioned it many times, there was his little powwow there in the Oval Office with several AI developers. And that was one of the things they talked about, is how AI could be used to bring about healthcare. It not only healthcare, but, the pokey pokes will all be custom designed just for you. AI will design, the AI will scan your DNA and figure out what you need to fix things in your body or to prevent things from happening. And then the AI will custom create this serum that's put into your body, and nano probes and robots and all that kind of stuff will control it and will just make you superhuman. I'm not really exaggerating that much. That is very much what the World Economic Forum and a lot of these elites have been talking about. And once again, we have Bill Gates stating this. And you can say how much you hate Bill Gates and everything, but I think he says stuff to disclose things. Because this week, the president has appointed a new CDC director. And this woman that he appointed is a former director at DARPA. And I mentioned that the other day, but if you don't know what DARPA is, you need to go do your homework. That's very important. It's a private government agency entity that basically develops very advanced technologies. They were the ones that originally built the building blocks of the COVID stuff, right? And that was part of the Operation Warp Speed that, the president and many others were bragging of how fast they come out with this, right? Well, it's because DARPA was up there already working on this stuff, and they came up with it very quickly. And DARPA has you could argue that they've done some good things, but they work on, it's like Skynet, kind of, So anyways, this woman, this doctor that's been sent to the position of CDC director, was a director within DARPA. Here's a video. I'm going to show this video of her talking. That's not the whole thing. The whole thing's several minutes long. But she's talking about how artificial intelligence, and part of what she was doing and developing there at DARPA, the area that she controlled, part of what they've been doing, is to develop artificial general intelligence so that it basically is your doctor. It takes it, not just your doctor, but it's running healthcare, like the whole healthcare system. That it's in charge of it, that it's protecting it, that it's all this kind of stuff, from the physician to the patient to the managers and all this kind of stuff. So I'll put a little video up here somewhere right now.
We think about advancing AI for healthcare in a number of different facets. So some are direct to the patients. What tools and what capabilities can we develop to help them really understand where they are in their healthcare journey and empower them to make great decisions? We also think about AI from the provider side. So how can we help providers better understand their patients? We also think about AI from the defensive side. So we understand that there is a great vulnerability within the health ecosystem. More and more is coming online in the Internet of Things that are going to have an incredibly positive effect, but we also know it creates vulnerabilities. ARPA-H takes on the entirety of the health ecosystem.
All right, so do you find that interesting that she was appointed to CDC director a day or so later, this video surfaced, and then a day or so later, Bill Gates talks about how AI is going to be running your health systems. I don't know. Maybe it's just a coinky-dink, right? Or maybe it's not. This is one of those things as a prepper I've been warning of why you need to take charge of your health, try to become as healthy as you can by the lifestyle that you live, but then also do a lot of studying, research, and learning and preparing for taking care of your own health. Because just like what we learned back during COVID, even though the system may still exist, it just may not exist for you. You may not have access to it. I mean, how many times did we hear, of stories, and some of you may have experienced it, where a doctor turned people away because they didn't have the right access, right? Even to the point of like organ transplants and surgeries that were very necessary, that kind of stuff. And it gave us a taste, kind of a, through the looking glass kind of thing of what is to come. And when AI takes over and AI says, oh no, I'm in charge. AI is in charge now. And you don't have the proper paperwork and you don't have the proper things in you, so you don't get to go to the doctor. Your prescriptions are cut off. You can't buy them. All this kind of stuff. What are your plans then? I mean, are your plans just to give in and let it do its work on you? I mean, they've already developed computers or robotics controlled by computers and AI that can do surgeries far better in a lot of ways than a doctor, these microsurgeries. So it could get to the point where what we've seen that happens in these science fiction movies is reality, to where your healthcare at every level is not in the controls of a human hands. And I think that's a very scary place, because if they do that, then there's really no limit to what they do, to where artificial intelligence is really controlling everything. And there again, you're talking about, I feel very confident in saying this, a beast system. It's being developed, because along with that, if we get to those points with healthcare, it's certainly going to be the same way in the financial world, with your money, traveling, identification, restrictions, surveillance, all of this stuff. It's being developed. These are things that they've talked about with all of these secret societies and everything else for decades, and big global organizations, all of them. What has changed is that the technology is finally catching up to their desires. It's catching up. And so now they can really start implementing this stuff. That's the major part of this whole Agenda 2030 thing. Will they'll control farming and crops, and the satellites and the AI will be able to tell how many trees there are and how many animals you have on your property and how much land that you have and what you eat. And, I've talked about this for years now. Look at what's going on in China. Remember that Klaus Schwab, the head of the World Economic Forum, praised China and said that they should be looked at as a blueprint for what other nations should do. And so now here we are again in the United States, along with all the other things that's happened in the last few months in regards to this transhumanistic agenda. We now have a new CDC director that is pro this, pushed it a lot during the whole COVID thing. But almost even worse than that is a former director of DARPA that was directly in charge of developing artificial intelligence in the medical systems to take over your healthcare. This is now the person in charge of CDC. So if you think things are getting better, not in this regards, they aren't. You need to get ready, folks. You need to be able to produce food that you can, because they're infiltrating the food systems too. If you think that, well, at least I'll eat the food, that it's all becoming man-made, fake, and filled with stuff. And the healthcare, your medicines, your health, all this kind of stuff. You need to take as much charge as you can and control of your life in this regard, and learn how to take care of yourself, medically speaking, as much as possible, because this is the direction that we're headed. And I do believe that what Bill Gates said was timed just perfectly. Okay? It's my opinion, because I don't really believe in coincidences anymore. Bottom line is you need to get ready, because this stuff's coming, and it doesn't really matter. I said this long before the election. It doesn't really matter who's in office. This level of technology that's being pushed is pushed at a much higher level than presidents or heads of state. So it's going to happen regardless, and you need to get ready. Get your houses in order and prepare mentally, physically, and spiritually. Thanks for watching. Catch you in the next video.